All right, we are on to chapter 8. I think this is chapter 8. Politics and nationalism in sport. So, this lecture is very, very short for a few reasons. One of which is because you guys, for your assignment, are going to go out and have to actually watch a good movie, which we'll get to in a little bit. So let's. It's also short because some of this is a little repetitive from the last two chapters, which were gender in sport and race in sport. So, like I said, I'm going to kind of fly through my review of the chapter here, where it really just starts talking about how political figures or political bodies can leverage sport, how they can use it for their to their advantage or disadvantage. So, like an example was Nixon attending a football game in 1969. Kind of it was an opportunity for him to connect with fans and show the people that he's interested in sport too. And this has been done many, many times. Another example was when President Donald Trump, or former President Donald Trump, was running for president, how he attended several different sporting events during his run. And the text kind of outlines how some of this can sort of backfire depending on who's in the audience. If it is predominantly one political party or another, he actually got booed at some of his events. Now, another clear example of how trying to leverage sport to kind of increase your marketability within certain populations was John Kerry. So there was an interview. He attended a Boston Red Sox game, and they interviewed John Kerry, and they asked him who his favorite players were. And I'm going to try to find a clip to this because I did think this was funny at the time. And he went on to list several Red Sox players, but he actually butchered their names and didn't get them correct. So it kind of led people to believe that he didn't actually follow sport and he was really just there for the um, political purposes. So that was just kind of what the book kind of gets into. There are a few definitions that I do think are important for us to understand, and one is just the difference between being political or politics. So political can be thought of as just conflicts in inherent human relations, and the way I look at it is just differing viewpoints. Just differing viewpoints, and we are always going to have differing viewpoints, and I think that's good. Politics is the practice through which we seek to address these differing viewpoints, to address these conflicts, and inevitably establish order. Right? So ideology, right, is a dominant set of ideas, values, rituals, and history of a group of people. So make sure we pay attention to ideology for your assignment, right? It's that dominant sets of beliefs, thoughts, and acts. Now, nation, right, is a symbolic construct, right? There's a researcher that believed nation is a symbolic construct which reflects shared ideologies. So when we think of nation, we typically think of countries, but you guys have seen it nowadays where it's you can have a nation within sports. So Broncos Nation, let's ride, right? So that's an example of Russell Wilson kind of organizing or representing an ideological view of the Denver Broncos football team and their fans. Now that's just a sporting example. We can also have an example of United States nationalism, which will come up in your assignment for the week. All right. Again, this is very short. Then we get into framing theory, and I think this is important. And the book defines it as how print and broadcast journalists tell specific stories to emphasize certain themes or values over others. And again, this is kind of how the media can potentially manipulate our thoughts and our actions, sort of connected to last chapter. We talked about like magic bullet theory. Now we have to be very, very careful. There is a fine line on how these things are presented to the people, where we have to be careful not to stereotype or denigrate others and create this us versus them a stance. So, an example is in the United States within sports post 9/11. Yes, it was important to create this nationalistic viewpoint of being proud of our country, remembering those that we lost, so on and so forth. But as it was put forth, we often associated a lot of the post 9/11 honors with a militaristic point of view. Many, celebrated the United States Army, and we had to be careful with that. Again, it was a very fine line, and we had to be careful specifically not to denigrate other nationalities. Now, very, very recently, right, I'm recording this lecture on October 30th, 2022. Kyrie Irving is a controversial figure in sports. Very recently, 3 days ago, he posted a Instagram post about a book and movie titled Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. Now, I'm not here to judge his posting or his viewpoints. All right, but I can tell you right now, this has only been 3 days. He's most likely going to face some sort of suspension, in my opinion, and it's also because of how he reacted to this whole situation. Again, that's not the point of this lecture, but the point is, right, when we're framing things, we have to be careful not to denigrate others. So he's very proud of his black heritage, rightfully so. However, the documentary Hebrews to Negroes specifically denigrates a very specific population, right? The Jewish population. And that's where he loses many people. That's where he's going to get into trouble, right? It's one thing to be nationalistic or to be proud of certain ideologies, but to denigrate others is where the line is really drawn for people. Then we go into, the book goes into sports, war, and political metaphors, which that's why I didn't really want to spend too much on. The example that we've already used in this class is using Hail Mary as a metaphor. It actually highlighted how a specific military general used Hail Mary to describe a military strategy, which is something you probably don't want to tell the public you're trying to do. It then goes on to talk about sports and activism, and it's another reason why this chapter is short. We just spent the last 2 chapters talking about sport and activism, and much of it was very repetitive. So, your assignment for the week is to watch the movie Miracle, right? So this is a Disney movie. It is available on Disney Plus. If you don't have Disney Plus, if you could find a friend that has Disney Plus, a family member that has Disney Plus. If you don't know anybody that has Disney Plus and you can't watch the movie Miracle, then you can order it. It is, I think, $3.99 on Amazon or on YouTube. If you cannot afford $3.99, let me know, right? Then we will take care of that. But I want you guys to watch the movie Miracle, right? And this is what you're supposed to provide to me. Provide a summary of the movie in your own words. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 sentences, something like that. Within the movie, I want you to identify at least 2 separate instances of the movie framing the specific zeitgeist. There are instances to provide a feeling or undertones or societal undertones of the time. Right? So give me at least 2 of them. Right? Very specific details of when in the movie and what it did. Then from there, identify at least 2 separate instances of American nationalism. Give me 2 instances of Soviet nationalism. These are things that represent the specific beliefs of that specific culture or group of people. And then lastly, share your thoughts and how this movie related to this class and specifically to this chapter. I think it should be a fun, easy assignment. You get to watch a really good movie, and then you can kind of put it in the frame of this class. If you guys have any questions, let me know.